Okay, welcome back everyone to my All Bosses PC tutorial. This is part 2 of 2. This is after Wolf 1, when we are captured. You want to submit as soon as possible, of course. Unless you want to waste several minutes saving Meryl. If you truly want to save Meryl, then you should run very easy, because very easy with the blink save glitch allows us to save Meryl coincidentally. But not on all bosses, on any percent. So, once you're in here, you're just waiting. There's nothing to do. If you need to like go take a bathroom break, you can call Colonel right now and get the snake, you okay, and you'll get that whole codec. So like you could do that codec and then just sit at the door and you can take like a 90-second break, something like that. Otherwise, you can just wait for the codec to happen in about 20 seconds from now. This is just a nice little break in the run. When you get used to this run, everything up to this point is go, go, go. So having a nice little break here and essentially like the midpoint of the run for All Bosses PC is nice. So that's where the codec happens normally. Johnny will keep on sneezing until he decides to go to the bathroom. We still have some time to wait here. So again, just wait at the door. You can practice your punches if you want. You can vent glitch at this bed for fun. Practice doing it as fast as possible, that sort of thing. But once you start hearing Otacon walk in, you'll hear the door. You need to be next to this door, so you're not wasting any time walking over to the door.
Hey, I'm here. Where?
You don't have to be staring at the door. You can crouch. Just be right next to the door.
Coming back. See you later.
So at this point, you got ketchup. We're going to equip the ketchup and drop it. You can't use the ketchup in the item menu. Some people think you can use it in the item menu. That's not true. You have to press circle when you're not in the item menu to use the ketchup. So don't get confused. It's not like a ration. You have to actually use it in the environment. At this point, don't move. Wherever you put down the ketchup, just sit there. You're gonna hear the door open. When the door opens, you're good to stand up at this point. Now, there's a few different ways to actually knock out Johnny. The general way people do it is just choking him out. So once you hear the door click, you can stand up. Do not stand up before then, or else he'll realize you're fooling him with the ketchup trick. So stand up, go next to the door. Door's gonna open. Mash. You see some people like unequip, re-equip their card. That doesn't actually save time, it just makes the animation look weird. And then you're gonna run and pick up your gear. Press 9 to move a little bit faster at this point, so you can have your chaff out already. And then exit. Don't worry about that turret. Hold up right. You will not get shot by the turrets if you do that. And then you're gonna go to floor 1. If you were doing any percent, you would go to the armory right now, but we do not need the rifle. We already picked it up. At this point, this is just doing the same thing we did when we were approaching Wolf. So everything that happened before, we're just going to do it again. Not much to say at this point. Okay, so when you get back here, you're going to do the same thing you did right after Wolf. Don't run forward. The one thing I do have to note is that because we avoid going up and down this passageway, there is ammo right where I'm staring in that little cubby that is part of the console route, but we do not pick it up on PC because we completely avoid going down this hallway. So be mindful of that. You're going to be having less ammo than you would normally have on console. So just letting you know. We're going to do the classic loop yet again. Again, make sure to go prone before, or after, excuse me, the camera falls, and then you're going to drop to this door and do a nice little clean turnaround and open the door. So this is the tower climb. We're officially in the tower sequence of the game. Tower A, Tower B. Right off the bat, just do God mode 1. Equip the grenades. You could also use your stun grenade here as well. That's really up to you. You can use either stuns or grenades, depending on what you have. Once you cross that ammo package, you're going to start cooking whatever grenade you're using. The goal is to throw the grenade through the open door, and the position I'm in is a good position, and you're just going to hold left. Make sure the door is fully open before you throw it, so don't throw it. I'll do it, I'll pantomime it. You want to throw not here, not here. Let the door open first. So like you're basically getting as close to threshold as possible and throwing it there. Okay? So it's going to look something like this. Again, once you turn the corner, you shouldn't adjust. Don't just hold left. So pick up the package, hold left, open the door, boom. And this is going to skip a cutscene where the guards start following you. So a very common mistake people do is they're too high up, or they turn, or they flick, and they'll like throw the grenade at this threshold or this threshold. You want to be basically right underneath this like white line in the floor. Right underneath the white line in the floor. Like I said, you can either use a grenade or a stun grenade. It really doesn't matter. This is a good position. Door opens, throw. And you just need the rope. Don't pick up the stun grenades. You don't need them. Just the rope. And now you are going to climb the staircase. One thing I do have to mention is since we did God Mode Exploit and we have to climb a ladder, if we don't do FPV, we won't be able to interact with the ladder at the top. So what I like to do is this. Do God Mode, equip my grenade or stun grenades, pick up the ammo package, open the door, throw, and while you're standing there, after you throw the grenade, since you have to wait, depending on your timing, of course, that's a good place to do the FPV input. That way you can climb the ladder. And this is just left, down, left, left, down, left, left, down, left, left, down, left, and so on. I don't have to say it for every staircase. On console, obviously, you'd have to think about how to quick throw guards and when to throw stuns, but here, this is just left, down, left, down, left, left, down, left. Make sure to do your turns after you see Snake pass the railing. Don't do it early or else you'll go against the railing. This is purely just movement optimization and very simple optimization, honestly. It's just hug the rail as much as you can. Once you get past the rail, down left. Very chill, very relaxed. This is where God Mode Exploit really starts coming into play with the run, since we don't have to think about anything besides our movement, which is very nice. Because this sequence on console can be quite a doozy. You can get shot, there's some luck involved, you have to move appropriately to make them avoid, or make Snake avoid damage. But here, we just do left, down, left, over and over and over again. If for some reason you did not submit to the torture, by this point you better have thrown out the bomb, because if you didn't, it's about to blow up on you and kill you. So just throwing that out there as well. Okay, so this roof, this is the roof of Tower A. You're supposed to just open the door and run out, but we are not going to do that because there is a cutscene the moment you enter this roof. And then there's another cutscene when you try to, if I can show it, well, I can do it by just doing GME, which is what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to GME 2 here. You see that staircase right there? You're supposed to climb that staircase, and what happens is that dish gets blown up by the Hind. By doing GME 2 here and then going up this staircase, you go prone right here, right here. You go prone right here. I'll save. And when you go prone, the cutscene of the satellite dish being blown up gets skipped. It only plays for like half a second, which is really nice. So it'll look, see, it just ends. And what I do is I hold X and L2 during that little cutscene sequence, and then I menu to my rope now, and then hold forward. So let's just show it off all together. This roof is a very good tell if your core affinity is incorrect, because sometimes if your core affinity is not good, like I mentioned at the start of the first tutorial, you will go prone here and the game will soft lock and you will not be able to advance. If your core affinity is set appropriately, that will not happen when you do the satellite cutscene skip. So hold down, GME2, you can use the radar here. Go prone at the top of the stairs, hold L2, equip your rope, and then hold forward and use the rope. You didn't forget the rope, right? It's a long way back down. Don't forget the rope. So the rappel sequence. The hardest jump is the second jump. I have a whole video on this, breaking it down, but I'm holding down an X right now to jump immediately. Once I hear the grunt, I press select, get past the steam, get to the girder jump. Hopefully I got this right. I did. Nice. You want to take that hind damage because it avoids taking the steam damage that would happen normally with the iframes that you get. I can't really explain this while I'm doing it, but that's actually how you want to do the rappel. Down below in the description, you can find a full video showing the inputs and how to do the whole shebang. There is some PSG-1 ammo here. So this is one of the hardest rooms on console, but thankfully we don't have to worry about that. But very important, very important that before you GME here to run past these guards on the walkway, card first. If you card first, that means you don't have to go into FPV to open your menu. So equip your ID card first, since you won't have it equipped since you just used the rope. So ID card, GME, then run forward. And what is one of the hardest rooms in the game, potentially, if you do one of the harder strats, becomes a joke. Very nice. Tapping over here, pick up both the stinger and the ammo. And now we're in Tower B. So Tower B, we're gonna go straight to the right. Pick up all that ammo, whatever, it's in our way, it's nice and convenient. And I'm just holding down left. That's literally all you do. You hold down left. Very simple. We're gonna go all the way down until we hit a trigger. And now we're gonna go back up. Just holding up left. Holding up left. You can like press left as well as you turn, but whatever. You're just rounding the corners. Now, very important coming up once we get to this floor, right here. This is the floor of the elevator. We're going to GME too. So we're going to do a trigger break so we avoid the Otacon cutscene where Snake gets spooked by Otacon showing up and they talk about loving the battlefield and all that. So at some point, I do it right here since why not? Because we know I'm here. I know I'm about to cross the elevator trigger, which is over there. A little further down. Just do it somewhere around here. That's really what I would suggest. There's no reason to cut it close. This is an any percent console. So you're going to GME 2 and you're going to skip that Otacon trigger. The thing is the camera is going to break. Not right now, but very soon. So you see like the camera is not following me. Now you could technically move all the way up like this, but it's kind of awkward. I mean, you kind of see the camera follow you. And like, boom. But you can also use FPV as well. Like, you can move around in FPV. So, eventually you're going to have to go prone. Because when you go prone, then you'll be able to think that resets the camera, something like that. See, now the turrets are actually shooting at me since they can actually see me now. So, make it simpler, just so you know. Just hold double tap triangle. See, I'm already at the top. I haven't really worked out like what's the optimal thing to do here with the movement in the tower, but since I have not run All Bosses PC in a very long time, like a really, really long time, so you may not need to actually go into double tap triangle optimally, but then you'll have to do some weird counting nonsense to make sure you're actually climbing the ladder when you get here. So, okay, so I would highly suggest you pick up this ammo. It's right here, it's right by the ladder, so it's not really that far out of the way. If you're really worried about your Hind play and you're not super comfortable, you can pick up this ammo as well. It's a few seconds out of the way, but you do not actually need it. If you're just starting out, I would probably suggest picking it up. But you don't actually need it. So let's go up the ladder. And we're about to go out the door and fight the Hind. Having God Mode X-Blade for this fight makes it a lot easier. You're not as concerned about HP and your health going into Raven or Wolf 2 or anything like that, so it helps a lot. But it does change how you like approach firing the stinger. 5, because the Hind is not actually hitting you at this point. So after you land that, you want to land that first shot as soon as possible, of course. There's 2 phases to this fight. We're in phase 1. The distinction between the phases is when Liquid says nice shot, that will show that the Hind is going into phase 2 and is going to fire a missile. Phase 1, essentially what the Hind does, whenever it gets shot at, and I'll just show it right here, it'll start shooting at you, and then it's going to fly to the opposite side. If you were not good with your timing, you would have to just keep on going back and forth like this. This is a little bit slower than the method I'm going to show in a moment, but this is pretty easy because you're just going back and forth. Wait for the Hind to cross. Fire again. Wait for the Hind to cross. You can use the radar as a visual cue of where the Hind is. On the last one, the Hind isn't really going to cross. It's going to like come to the roof like this and just start shooting at you. And then you'll go into phase 2. Instead, we are going to expertly time our stinger shots so that when the iframes on the Hind are gone, it doesn't actually fly over. Well, it does fly over, but then it immediately flies back. So it'll be over here, and then it'll fly over there, then come back. Because basically, like I said, the Hind's, movement is based off of when it gets damaged. So if you shoot at it twice on one side, it will double back on itself because it's like, oh, I took a shot. I need to back. I have to go across the roof again, which means the Hind's going to stay on this side the whole time, and that's going to minimize our movement. We're going to do damage more quickly, and the fight's going to go by more quickly. So that's ideally what you want to do. You do the same thing on console. The difference is, of course, we don't take damage. So on console, you can kind of use the damage as sort of a cue right before you take the damage. You want to take the shot. But here we have a little bit more room to work with. So let me just show an example of this, and then I'll explain it a little bit better. So again, hit the Hind as soon as possible. You see I hit the edge of the Hind. And then it flies back. Wait for it to start shooting. Fire. I whiffed. It's okay. If that happens, then you're just going to have to move But ideally you don't do this because you're not really ready for moving back. If this does happen, you could try to do it again. But it's kind of hard to free aim when the hind's in some weird spot. Part of the problem with this strategy is the hind does not fly predictably. It's not always going to fly in the same line it always flies in. So because of that, you have to pay attention to what angle the hind is flying in. The timing of the shot is based off of the bullets flying out. So you'll hear the hind start shooting at you, and in about a second or two after the hind's shooting at you, you want to fire. Again, this is going to depend on the distance between you and the hind, because the stinger has a travel time. It's not just it's not a hit scan weapon. The missile has to literally fly at the target. This is going to come into play with Rex later as well, or Wolf 2. But just keep that in mind, your position relative to the hind, and when you time the shot, and where the hind is flying. These are all things you have to keep in mind. Not necessarily you're going to be calculating in the middle of your run, pulling out your pen and paper. This is something that's just going to happen with practice. Always try to lock on first. If you fire quickly, then the first travel path is pretty predictable, but at least for me. But after that one, it gets all kinds of wonky, so it's worth mentioning as well. There we go. So again, just use the bullets flying out as a cue for when to shoot. Try to aim a little bit above the hind, like that. I'm whiffing. I'm not going to lie to you, this is tricky. It will require practice. I'm having trouble with it because, of course, when you're trying to teach something, you're going to fail it yourself. And you can do this with keyboard as well. It's really up to you what is best for you. And as you can see, you don't have to hit any particular part of the hind to do damage to it. You just have to hit the body of the hind. And the hind is much larger than you think it is. It's a huge hitbox to hit the hind. Let's see if I can do this. So on PC, you have way more time to land the shot. So use that to your advantage. Just be aware that, if the hind's flying towards you, you're going to have to aim further up and change the timing. With practice, you can get good at firing the missile at the appropriate time. You'll get used to standing at the edge of the tower and timing out your missiles. And that's going to be a much faster fight than going back and forth on the roof. Even if you miss, it's fine. Just try to do as much as you can. After this point, we're going to go pick up the Stinger missiles over here. And then I'm going to move over here. This is the same position you want to be at in console. This missile's not going to do damage to us, but we want to be back here for timing purposes. So this missile's going to, when this missile lands, it's going to destroy that area we were just standing in. When the missile lands, I'm going to fire my Stinger at the hind, and it's going to be timed perfectly to hit the hind. So right now. Now I'm just going to wait for the hind to get to the roof, because it doesn't always fly the same way to the roof in phase 2. So what we're about to do is what some people call the hind cage, the hind loop. Essentially what we're doing here is forcing the hind. It's sort of like Ocelot. You remember we were forcing Ocelot to counterattack us over and over again. That's what we're doing here. The hind, after you fire a Stinger, it says, the AI is like, all right, I'm going to start shooting at Snake. But if we fire the missile again while it's above the roof, it's just going to do the same thing over and over again, and we're going to kill it eventually. Now, there is a problem with this, especially on easy. If you drop the loop, Like, you miss your missiles, and there is some leeway to it. It's not like, oh, if you miss once, like, it's over. As long as you recover fairly quickly, like, you can keep the loop going. But if you drop the loop, you're going to get punished so hard on easy. So hard. Because what happens is, the Hind, I'll show it by just waiting. But if you take too long, and, like, it takes a while. It really takes a while. At this point, if I fire, the Hind loop is probably done. Yeah, you see, it's starting to fly underneath the roof. And on easy, this takes forever for him to come back up. You're wasting so much time. As the difficulties increase, he comes back up more quickly. He fights more aggressively, which is good for speedrunning. This is good for a casual, but for speedrunning, this is terrible. Terrible. And sure, you can get a couple shots in, but eventually the Hind is going to fly back down, and you got to wait again. So, you really, really, really don't want that to happen on easy. You're going to be punished. Keep the loop going, and you'll be able to defeat the Hind without it flying below the roof and you having to wait around for it. So, to review, try to time these shots as well as you can. It's just going to take practice and seeing where, just see where I'm aiming. So you're aiming above the Hind. Kind of like at the blades. Like that. Back and forth, back and forth. Position it. Boom. Done. Pick up the Stinger missiles. Stand over here. Equip your Stinger back. If you want a funny joke, you can press your Stinger button here and you'll get the crosshairs. It's amusing. Wait until the missile lands. Boom. Shoot. Perfect. Now the Hind's gonna fly to the roof. At some position, but now we're just going to fire. Just like before, we're using the bullets traveling as an audio cue. So like in this situation, the Hind's like getting farther and farther from me. That means I can shoot earlier and earlier. On console, this would be a problem, but on PC, it doesn't matter because we are not taking any damage. I fired a little bit early there. It's okay. As long as you don't miss that many missiles, even if you only picked up one pack down below in the tower itself, like, you'll still be fine. You have a little bit of leeway, but if you're not comfortable with your Stinger yet, just pick up the extra package that I mentioned earlier that's a few seconds out of the way. After the fight is done, if you have less than 5 missiles, you want to pick up the package I just picked up. If you run out of missiles before you take out the Hind, you also want to come up to this area and pick up the missiles. You want to start like moving in between the shots and start creeping over here. That way you can pick up the package quickly if you need it. So that's just something to keep in mind. If you're not confident in your timing with your missiles and you run out of missiles, you want to be as close as possible to this pickup I just did, okay? But after the Hind is at 0 HP, if you have less than 5 missiles, you want to empty all the missiles you got. All the missiles you got, you want to just blow them at your feet, whatever, and then pick up that package so you can go back to 5. Okay? Because you want that Stinger pack as you go to Wolf 2 and into the end game. So you're supposed to hide behind this little box, but we don't need to because this is PC. So in the great tradition of God Mode Exploit, we are going to just sit here and watch the missile hit Snake. And he thinks it's funny. I also think it's funny. So that's the Hind. Want to mash select so you can get this codec as soon as possible. Boom. Okay. So yeah, that's the Hind. It's a trajectory problem. It's a math problem of just when do you fire the stinger at what trajectory to hit the hind. Because ideally you hit the hind as soon as the iframes are off, but my suggestion to you is don't cut it close until you know how to cut it close, and especially because in phase 2, the hind could fly over here, it could be over here, it could be over there, you know, it could be in any position in this roof, and as you saw right back before I defeated the hind, it started moving further and further back, so I could fire a little bit earlier, a little bit earlier, a little bit earlier. But just like with Rex later on, if you're not sure, just wait until you actually see the boxes pop up to show, hey, the iframes are done. Because you could still loop that way, and it's better to maintain the loop than to drop it. It is so much better to maintain the loop than drop it. So we're going to go back down the ladder. At this point, you could GME as well when you're going down the stairs. You could use chaff grenades, you could use grenades. Ideally, I think you would want to use chaff going back down. That way you wouldn't GME one additional use, but it doesn't matter that much. Also, if you really don't want to deal with Wolf's nonsense, you can go over here, Stinger Missile. You'll get chaff as well, and Stinger Missile. And you'll have an additional 10 stingers for Wolf. So if you do not like using the rifle, then you can go pick up some extra stingers over there. So that's just something to mention. Okay, so like I was saying before, you're either going to use chaff going down, grenades going down, or just GME. At a basic level, just do God mode. I mean, it's just like a little bit of a time loss. It's just a tiny time loss, who cares? Hold down left. Nice and easy. Just a nice chill movement sequence, nothing to think about. Once we get past the one turret, if this was console, we would have to take the elevator, but instead we are going to skip the elevator, Ultra Box, the 4 horsemen, and go to the snowfield. You might be like,
but that's a boss fight.
No, it isn't. It's not a boss fight. By the way, on console, you can pick up this ration right here. It's hidden. So we don't need to do this elevator sequence. We're going to go over here and do GME2 and drop from that side. I'm going to go through as you're supposed to here, just so I can reset the save, because I want to show a couple of things. So when you drop here, it's really common for people to go way too far. The door to the snowfield is actually very close. It's very, very close to where you're starting at. So all you have to do is go left like a step and see you're like right here. Don't hold left for a long time. Don't start squirreling around. You just have to hold left, folks. You just have to hold left, okay? So you open the door, you go left a step, you'll see the door. At that point, you should pretty much stop holding left. And then if you go prone while you're falling, the game will crash, okay? So don't go prone while you're falling. You can crouch, but you cannot go prone. If you go prone while you're falling here, I'll show it, boom, the game just stopped, and it crashes. The game just closes. So don't do that. Don't go prone. If you go prone, when the game doesn't know what the heck your position is, it's over. It's literally over. So you just go left a step, and you go prone at that door once you land, and you'll just open the door, and you're done. Okay? It's that simple. So yeah, once you approach this door, folks, you just crouch, GME2, go left about a step. Once you see the door, you can crouch while falling. but then you go prone and press down and you'll enter the door and find yourself in the snowfield. Unfortunately, that means the ammo that you would normally pick up down this hallway for the rifle, you will not pick up. So like I was saying before, the ammo that is on the walkway is kind of the ammo you want to pick up, because that's really the last time you're going to have PSG-1 ammo, since we skip all the other opportunities where we could pick up rifle ammo. Just an incident of the route. So we're going to run straight forward. Do not God mode exploit. If you do that, you'll get stuck in the trigger and you will be stuck and you won't be able to advance. So don't God mode exploit, don't weapon glitch, don't do anything. There is something that can happen here depending on how you get shot down. You may be able to run forward during the scope animation. It's not really that important in all bosses, but it could save a tiny little bit of time once you start moving forward. It's called Tyler two-step. If I belly flop and I'm facing backwards in the scope, it can't happen. You have to land on your back, so let's see what happens. So yeah, it's not gonna work. If you're belly flopping, it's not gonna work. If you land on your back, basically what happens is you mash a weapon as Snake gets up and starts moving forward a little bit to talk on the codec. And then you can actually, if you mash weapon hotkeys, you'll move forward. Again, not that important on all bosses since we're fighting Wolf. So Tromboncino does have a full Wolf 2 tutorial on this fight that talks about some of the positioning and some of the strategy involved in this fight. This fight is, I don't even think it's even arguable. If anyone runs this category for long enough, they will agree that Wolf 2 is the worst boss fight in this game. And that's because I'm going to God mode exploit so I can not take damage. And I'm going to use the scope after I unequip the stinger. So she can hide in a lot of different places. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. She can juke you at this hill. Sometimes she'll be moving left, and then she'll decide to move right. She'll move right, decide to move left, or she'll be like, I'm gonna keep on going this way, or I'm not gonna go that way. This tree, that tree, and there's a tree behind that tree, which is gonna be important in a moment, and then a tree over there. And there's multiple places where she can go down to attack you over here, there, over here. She's poking out from trees. She can do that. She can attack you from here. I'm not sure about here. I think maybe that's a spot. Basically at gaps. Generally speaking, you want her to be on the right side, because there's less trees on this side, but it just kind of sucks any way you slice it. So, the thing that's good about this fight is we have the stinger. And since we're on PC, we can just freely switch between the stinger and the rifle by pressing 5 and 0. On console, you do not get that benefit, and you have to go between stinger and rifle whenever you want to use either of them. Which is why you want to dump stuff before this fight so you have as little menuing as possible. But thankfully, we don't have to worry about that on PC. Even so, something you will realize as you do this fight more is that sometimes the stinger's the right call, sometimes the rifle's the right call. Whenever Wolf is hiding behind the tree, you want to use the stinger. But you are not guaranteed that she's going to keep on hiding behind a tree. And you can hit Wolf while she's running around with the stinger, but it's a bit awkward, and sometimes the stinger can miss or hit a tree or something like that. So they're both situational. Ideally, you use a combination of both the rifle and the stinger, but if you don't pick up the extra ammo at the top of Tower B, you're only going to have 5 stingers here, which is not a lot. You can do 5 hits of damage, and that's not enough to kill Wolf, even on easy. So it's a combination of rifle and stinger unless you pick up the extra stinger ammo. Just like Wolf 1, it's a random fight, but there's a lot more opportunities for Wolf to screw with you. And since she takes more damage, the fight is longer, and so on and so forth. You get where this is going. The general strategy you want to do when you're doing this fight is to use the stinger to locate her. If she is hiding behind a tree, fire the stinger at that tree. If she's moving around, it's better to use the rifle, but remember, you have to hold a direction to start moving into fast speed. Now, when you're scoping in, you can like quickly hold up and scan up like that, or hold right. You'll get a little bit faster rather than waiting for the scope to be done and then holding the direction, but it's still not great. And you have to move up and then right and left like that. So your neutral state is not great for this fight. She has the high ground, and there's not really a good place for you to stand to change that, sadly. This is a slight hill. The moment the fight starts, you should equip your stinger and see where she is. You can use pause buffering to think of your next move, just so you pause the IGT and think of your next move. When she's standing over here, she could be behind the wrong tree, so you want to curve your missile like that, because if you fire straight and she's behind the front tree, because there's a tree and then there's a tree behind that tree, you'll miss the shot. So always curve the missile when she's standing over here from your starting position, just to make sure that this missile lands like that. Okay. Here I'm just guessing. I'm like, is she going left? No. Where is she? Oh, she did go left. You know, you want to like line up as well as you can. You know, so you line up, fire your stinger, get back into the rifle, try to get her while she's moving left and right. It's really tricky, and you have to just sort of track her as well as you can. But ideally, you do these like walking shots and these leading shots as much as possible, because the less Wolf hides, the better. Obviously, you can deal with Wolf hiding with the stinger, but like I said earlier, if you are doing the quote-unquote optimal thing, you just pick up 5 stinger and roll with it. So that's, again, not that many opportunities, and if you run out of stingers, that's it. When she's hiding behind the tree, she's hiding behind the tree. Does she start the fight in the same spot? Good question. Nope. This is where she starts is random, just like in Wolf 1, so you have no control over that. She could start on the left, right, she could be moving, she could be hiding, she could be ready to shoot at you. It just doesn't matter. It's like, see, she's already trying to kill me. Unfortunately, like there, it would have been better for B to use the stinger instead. See, she started moving and the stinger missed. She started moving, the stinger missed. This is exactly what I mean. Like, you don't really know if the stinger is going to work, because if she decides to move, when the stinger starts flying, it's going to miss. And she doesn't always like pop out from the tree to attack you. Sometimes she just hides behind the tree, and sometimes she runs away immediately. So you basically make your bed and sleep in it in this fight. You really don't know what is the right call, unfortunately. If your life is this low, you should heal. That's because if your life is about to... If you're one hit from death, it's worth healing. There's a very weird thing that happens, and maybe I can show it by damaging myself a little bit. Oh my gosh, not enough. Well, what happens is that at the very end of the fight, when your HP regains, you'll actually be stuck in place. So you want to be, you want to heal if you're one hit from death. Otherwise, you're actually going to lose time from regaining your HP when the fight is over. It's a very weird thing with this fight, on easy specifically. Not on the other difficulties, but easy. So that's something to know, which is just a good rule. If you're about one hit from death, you should heal in Wolf. It's very dangerous. You're playing with fire on both fights if you're deciding to do that. Again, always reset your aim. See, like here, sometimes it's better just to set up your aim like that with the stinger before you go in the rifle. As I mentioned earlier, this fight is way more annoying on PC because of the only D-pad speed movement on the rifle. So like just picking up stingers and rolling with that is actually kind of good. Be careful though, like as you can see, I'm like slowly moving forward every time I go into the rifle. Oddly enough. It's like here, I'm gonna heal. Switch back to my card. And you could just press F5, excuse me, 5 to bring your stinger back. Really what you want from her is to not try to be aggressive and attack you, because that can throw off your aim if you're using the rifle. You want her to either hide a bunch or just kind of run around the field. If she's shooting at you, that can throw off your aim and be annoying if you're trying to use the rifle. Yeah, the health regen issue is an issue on console. Now, I'll be honest, I haven't actually checked if it is the same on PC, but I'm pretty sure it would be just because of this game being this game. Even if it isn't, if you're one hit from death in this fight, you really should ration. So it kind of doesn't matter. You should heal at that point, because if she hits you again, you're dead. Thankfully, you have a little bit more HP at this fight compared to Wolf 1, but so does she. So kind of just equalizes out, but she does still do the same damage to you, so that's nice. So yeah, this is a rough fight. It really is. If you finish her off with the stinger, you can run forward around to this point and stop as the stinger's flying out. That way you're as far forward as possible. When the fight is over, you just clear a little bit of distance. Just something useful, like you just cover a little bit of distance. But like I said, this is really the worst fight in the game. Even people who have been playing this game for years, this fight could be a struggle. And at a high level, this fight can really swing your pace because there's just a lot of luck to it. So, sorry. Sorry Wolf 2 exists. But that is the deal. You can watch Tron Bonchino's tutorial on Wolf 2 for more information on this fight. But we are going to move forward, literally hold forward. I'm going to hold F3. That way I can skip all those codecs or cutscenes. Then after I unpause here from skipping all the cutscenes, I'm going to hold left, equip my chaff, and equip my card. So look like this. And once you enter here, God mode, and then the turrets will miss. Very nice. And there's the disc change. The audio of the disc change happens, but there is no disc change. Okay, so the furnace. This is a real pain of an area on console, but we do not have to deal with it on PC. So all you're gonna do, and if you're like worried about your alert count, you can throw a grenade here as well. But you're gonna run forward, and you can do it in either two positions. You can do it when the door opens like this, and use the radar. You're just gonna fall through that wall you saw on the radar. Then you're gonna go back and forth because the elevator shows up immediately, and then go on the elevator. It all happens very quickly. But you don't have to do it right there. You can do it as you cross the door like this. So once you get past the door, boom. And now you can actually see Snake move along. You want to go prone right here where the door is, because that's the load zone, and then you'll just go back and forth like that. So once again, so yeah, you can either do it before the door or after the door. I would suggest after the door, especially if you ever decide to run hard and extreme. That way you don't have to do any memorizing of step counts or go in FPV. But you could do it before the door as well. It doesn't matter really. And this allows us to skip this entire area and just go straight for the cargo fight. So for cargo, I do have a tutorial on it, but that is primarily console focused. All of it applies, but generally what people do on PC is they use God mode and punch kicks. So you need to obviously go into a God mode, PPK, kick cancel for each, and just approach each of them like that. Since I was dawdling at the start, that forced me not to get that guy. If you wanted to like choke or throw, you can go into FPV and then start choking or throw or whatever, because you can't press square during God mode unless you go into FPV like that. So that's something to mention. But generally what you see people do is they use God mode exploit and punch kick every guard off. You can do the console strategies. Like it's still viable, but most people don't want to deal with the problems of this fight. This is actually a very hard fight to do when you're not invincible. So, you know, we just skip the cutscene, GME, turn around, punch kick, punch kick, punch kick, kick cancel every time the kick lands, and you're done. That's it. That's the fight. It's very simple. Much simpler than having to avoid bullets like on console or do other weird setups, which you can learn on my cargo elevator tutorial. Okay, so this turret is RNG. You, just like other turrets, you don't know what position it's going to be in. The movement I'm about to do, as you can see, I just avoided taking damage. That movement I just did where I went up, let me just take out this turret so it doesn't get in my way. So like I go upright, then up at this, there's like this thing on the ground, this like rectangle, that thing. You go up there and then you just kind of curve around. Usually that movement works. You could GME here. It's just that when you get to this elevator panel, if you don't press triangle to FPV, you can't interact with it. So you have to GME and then FPV. So for me, I just take my chances and hope I don't get shot. Since I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that bet. That bet's a little bit more risky on extreme, but on easy, taking a shot, who cares, right? So you just go to this elevator panel and roll on down. Whenever you're on this elevator specifically, you want to do GME 2, okay? That'll skip every codec that happens here. Every time you're on this elevator, there's a codec. So just GME 2. End in that crouch, and you're good to go. You'll skip a codec, and you'll save like a second-ish every time. It's nice. Because even though like we can skip codecs essentially instantaneously, we still have to let the codec open up and then close it. So you see I can't move right now, but that's the codec that was supposed to play. And we're done. So nice little time save. So, we're about to fight Raven. Really, the strategy with Raven isn't all that different from console. The difference being that we have invincibility, so we're not timing it based off of us standing back up and throwing the grenade and taking the damage and tanking the damage with rations out. We're just timing it out based off of, well, time. There is some resources here if you're like short on things, but you really shouldn't be. You should just go straight for the door. Once you get through this door, you can hold F3 to skip the cutscenes and pause rather than go crouch. Okay, so after I'm done pausing, I'm gonna go 0-3. So I go into God mode with the grenades, and then I'm gonna immediately start cooking my grenade. So boom. You want to do 0-3 really quickly so you don't end in a crouch. After you throw the first grenade, throw the second one. This first one, you have to wait a little bit longer, like right before the grenade explodes, you want to throw the next one. And then after that, once Ravens start shooting, just do like a 1-2 and then throw. So Raven shoots, 1-2, throw. Raven shoots, 1-2, throw. Raven shoots, 1-2, throw. So on and so forth. So 1-2, 1-2, 1-2. Throw that a little bit earlier. I think that's right. Now, see, that was a little bit early. So, you know, it's like it's a quick 2 count. Raven shooting is a good cue for that. There is a cue with the Nikita. Since we're on all bosses, we can use the Nikita here. Oh, worth mentioning as well, you can keep a weapon out with the weapon hotkey, even in jamming, like the Nikita, as long as you keep on mashing the weapon. So you see, like, I keep it out. That's something you can use in very easy in the, you can use that in very easy in the nuke building first floor with killing guards. Heck, maybe you could even do it with the SOCOM. I'm not sure yet. I could try that out sometime, but that's something completely separate. Thing with the MP5, it has a suppressor on it, but you can do this. Figured I'd mention that. Again, weapon hotkeys are super broken. Since you do have the Nikita, you can use a Nikita queue instead, but you still would want to initiate with the grenades. So again, throw immediately. Two flashes, fire. 2 flashes, fire. 2 flashes, fire. It's the blinking on the Nikita. It's very simple. Very, very simple. And since we pick up the Nikita as part of the route, like, why not? Once he's done doing his hand thing when he ranks up, that's the last rank up of the game, by the way. You want to mash select, equip your chaff as well. So I'm like mashing 9 and I'm mashing select to get my chaff out and do the codec. So yeah, Raven is literally just about timing out iframes. Which, I mean, if you've seen the other boss fights in the game, that's kind of in line, but really it's just timing out iframes. You can do it with grenades, or you can do it with the Nikita. It's up to you. If you do it with Nikita, of course, you'd have to pick up, excuse me, the extra Nikita ammo in Nuke Building B1. So ideally, you would use the grenades, probably, but the Nikita is really easy because there's a literal visual cue of the blinking. So something useful for this next area, because you don't want to use God Mode exploit. When you enter an area, you can hold a weapon key to immediately start using it. So we're going to do that with the chaff. So I'm going to hold up left and go through this door. I'm holding square. You see he starts immediately cooking the chaff, which is what we want. So you just wiggle over here and the chaff will explode perfectly and you won't get hit by any of these turrets. Pick up that stinger ammo. The nice thing about all bosses, you should have extra, so you don't need that many more, but, you know, it's worth picking up. Hold up there and interact with the cutscene. I do have a full underground base tutorial on my YouTube, which goes into some of the movement stuff. There has been like a very small update, actually some stuff for PC specifically, but it's pretty much all accurate. So just look at that if you're interested about the movement in this area. Press select once you cross the line. Answer Otacon. If you use B-Man's audio pack, the music here actually makes sense, which is really cool. Otherwise, you'll hear zoom, 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 zoom every time. If you're wondering why it sounds like PlayStation, that's why. So, coming up is where the PAL RNG is determined, whether you do the ditch card or the rat. You want to do the ditch. You really want to do the ditch. Do not do the rat. You are not doing Big Boss. That is the only category that should do the rat anymore. The ditch card, as confirmed by DLimes13, is the proper way to do anything that's not Big Boss. You have to farm 11 alerts by the time you get to the bottom floor. If you only have 10 after the mandatory alert, where the card is shot out of your hand, wait at the ladder to the middle floor until the alert clears, then cause an explosion to get your 11th alert. You do not want the rat. Do not do the rat. Don't do the rat. Watch the videos down below to learn more about the ditch card routing and the dock. Do not do the rat. It is a pain in the butt, okay? You do Big Boss. We do have information on the rat, of course, but that is the only category where you should do the rat. With that warning out of the way, let us continue. So, first time through, if you need that 10th alert, I'm going to just GME. This guard's going to see me, and we get an alert. Equip the chaff while moving here. Hold X. You can GME here to avoid getting shot. If you move well, this guard will not hit you. Sometimes it happens, though. It's really annoying. But if you do GME to avoid taking the damage, make sure to press triangle so you can interact with the ladder. Just hold right here to climb down this ladder. Again, if you're wondering about the movement in this area, go watch my tutorial on this area. At this point, once we go down here, if you're doing the rat right when this screen transition happens, that determines the rat RNG. I actually don't know what on the save it is, so this is going to be fun. I'll check with my stinger just in case it is the rat. It doesn't look like it. So here's the route. Boom, 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 bomb. If you get the bomb, you gotta throw it away. If you got the worst spawn, you'll have to throw the bomb early, like that. The worst spawn means that you have to go all the way over here, but it's still better than the worst rat. So there is that. It'd be over here. I think this save actually has the rat, so that's fun. Once you get your card from the ditch, because you do not want to deal with the rat, we're going to go back up the ladder. And you're going to equip your PAL card at some point. It should be just one to the right, like that. Since you are on all bosses, you can kill the guard instead of doing GME. You just need to start running and gunning while running, and you will not slow down. And you'll just kill the guard like that, faster than doing GME, as long as you don't stop in place to equip the gun. So, up here in this room, what you want to do is run straight for the computer, okay? Since we don't care about alerts. If you decide not to run straight for the computer, and you try to curve around, make sure you don't run into this computer with the card equipped, because Snake will be all confused and be like, this is the wrong one. So don't do that. But you shouldn't do that anyways, especially not for the room temperature one. It's close enough that that shouldn't be a problem. So you're going to run straight for the yellow computer. When you skip this cutscene, you have two options. You either run straight out the door and take a small time loss, or go for a slightly tricky movement to avoid the camera spotting you, which should look something like this. Boom. So the camera didn't spot me like that. That's how that works. If you're not comfortable with that movement, just run straight out the door. The camera will cause the door to close and Snake will stop in place. You'll lose a little bit of time, but that's fine. It's no big deal. That's something to keep in mind for the future. Here, you want to run along the right side and do a little bit of skating to silence your footsteps. That is slightly faster than running along the left wall like I showed in my tutorial. Thank you, D-Limes, for showing a slightly faster by frames way. But you can just run along the left wall. It's really not that much slower. This ladder can be really annoying to climb. Wouldn't SOCOM be faster? Actually, you'd probably be right. SOCOM would be faster. The only issue with SOCOM for that little spot is just, again, if you accidentally... let me see if I can show it. Oops, that's not what I meant to show. I need to do it poorly. Not like that, though. It's all based off of when Snake is in his animation. But, like, sometimes when you try to lift the gun, like, that'll happen if you don't press them both at the same time. But yeah, if the ideal thing is to turn the corner and start killing the guard. But, like, that would only be faster by, like, I don't know. I don't even know. Slightly faster than just doing... You only need to skate, like, for a second. It's, like, 2 taps. It's basically nothing, so... I don't know. It would not even be 10 frames. It would be even less than that. Because 10 frames is a third of a second. It wouldn't even be that. It would be like however much time is lost by doing this, which is very minimal. If you skate like this, it'll be much less. So you could shoot the guard, but skating is probably easier. At some point before you approach this door, don't forget to equip your ID card. You see, we're now talking about really small stuff because that is what the end game really is. It's really small stuff. This room, you're going to hold right, down. You can cut it even closer than this, and then down left at the stairs. I turned a little bit too early. Like, once you get down these stairs, like, halfway, boom, like that. Except I'm getting shot. Let's try this again. Do the movement in one cohesive unit. So, right, down, down left. That's how you want to do it. You need to wait 1 minute and 1 second, essentially, for this card to freeze over. Pick up the stinger ammo while you're here. Like, you do not want to forget the stinger ammo. It's part of the route, so pick it up. You have nothing better to do. There's different ways to set this up. You can use an audio cue like I'm about to. I stand over here on this tile line, go against this little crate, and I will run into the door on a certain audio cue. When you're starting out, just wait for a minute, 1 second to clear, and check your card. You do not want to have the heartache of realizing you didn't freeze or heat the key, okay? So my audio cue is coming up very soon. I'll say now when it happens. Now. And it's blue. Okay, this is new information to me. B-Man looked at this last week. It's a random time between 60 and 61 seconds. And that, my friends, explains all of the heartache I've had with freezing and heating keys. Because if it is slightly random, I've had certain cues work, specifically for the red key on higher difficulties, that would work sometimes, and then it wouldn't work, and then I would slowly push my cue later and later. If it's actually random, maybe that's a PC thing, I'm not sure, but it's a good enough reason to make it 61 seconds, or 62, really. That cue I just did has not failed me yet. If it does, sorry, I will I will let people know, but that cue I just used has never failed me. When you enter this room, just like before, you want to hold square. So throw the chaff immediately. And now we're going to head back up to the top of the area and put in the card. Equip your PAL card at some point. Do your menus while you're taking a full step. You won't stop, just like I explained in my control tutorial, which you should watch. If you're running this game, you really should watch it. Doesn't matter what version you're playing, you should watch that tutorial. So here's the, once again, we're going to show the SOCOM strat. I mean, this whole part, I don't really need to say much. It's exactly what you think it is. But here, we're about to put in the frozen card. So running straight for the computer here is still possible, but it's a bit harder. It's a bit harder. It's a bit harder. So if this movement scares you, you can just go around the table, but you can get there in time. Just make sure you turn into the computer. Now, for some reason, when you're exiting and you're trying to do the chair trick, as we call it, it's a bit different on PC. So you either have to do a movement. What I prefer to do is not doing the movement that Limes does. I do a different kind of buffer. So I will show that in a moment once I get to this computer. So we go like that. And then once you skip this cutscene, you're going to get to the chair, punch or stop for a moment, and then keep on moving left. So like this. And the camera doesn't spot you. And that will save a little bit of time. So as you're going back to warehouse, at this point you're going to have some guards go to the left way on your way down. Like that. On the way back, you'll do up and right. And you don't have to fully face the panel to interact with it. Refer to my control tutorial. You can equip weapons while you're sitting here for fun. And again, always GME2 when you're on this elevator, and you will skip all the codecs. After you skip this codec, this turret may or may not shoot you during this little cutscene. If it shoots you, that's good luck, and you should just run for the panel. If it doesn't shoot you, that's bad luck. So let's see. I got bad luck. You just run for it. Just be careful if your HP is low. You could also GME to avoid taking damage there as well. If the turret shoots at you during the little cutscene where you have no control, that's a good thing, and you should just run for it. We're just gonna ride the elevator up and head into the furnace. So I just stand still during furnace. Some people use a visual cue of this guard. I do not. I just wait on the audio for the music. If you don't use the music pack that BMN released to make the PlayStation music appropriate for the PC, the audio cue will be different. But just stand here. You do not need to go in that room to get the stingers or anything like that, or to heat the card. That's a misconception. Once you're in this room, you're in this room. And you don't want to enter that room unless you have to. So just wait. The audio cue is the drum line going from right to left in the stereo. So we're just going to wait for that. Not that one. but it's coming up. Once you hear that, you should have heated the card. Again, if you're new, just wait a minute and 1 second or 2 seconds. Check your card when you're in the room, just so you know you have the peace of mind. There's no reason to cut it close when you're starting out. And then we're just going to return back to the computer room, so that's going to take a few minutes. Once again, once you're on this elevator, GME2, and you'll skip the Naomi codec. Like I said, go right then up once you're in this room. Make sure to hold square as you enter this room and throw that chaff. You can pick up these stingers if you want, but you should have enough, but of course you can pick up some more if you want the security. At some point, equip your PAL card and head up to the computer room for the last time. And it's not like this area is not important, folks. It's just that there's not a whole lot to talk about because it's the same movement over and over again. And spend enough time doing it, you will get good at it. So on the final one, we can't run straight for the red computer. We have to actually run around the table. Very important to note for all bosses, Otacon is down below because of Deep Throat. On any percent, he'll be to the right where Deep Throat is, but because this is all bosses, Otacon is directly below Master. So you call, skip it, and then you can go next to this door, look at it in first person, and once you see the camera spin out, press select. Nice little visual cue. And then you just turn that corner as tightly as possible, upright right, and you'll run straight into this little cutscene trigger, and you're in Rex. Again, we have a full Rex tutorial on my YouTube well, it is like a YouTube tutorial page in a certain way, but yeah, my YouTube page, so you can watch that whole thing. Same with Liquid and the escape. Everything at this point in the game has tutorials about it, so I'm going to be glossing over this stuff and just talking generally. I'm gonna approach this line, go into God mode, like that. Once he starts screaming, fire, 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 hold X. You can joke around and equip other stuff because MGS1 PC, folks. If your core affinity isn't set well on the GOG version, this area can soft lock, by the way. Worth mentioning. So after this cutscene is skipped, you can either stand in place or you can run forward. So I'll show with running forward, like on my other tutorial. You can like fire and then go into GME as you're waiting. You can stand in place as well and just pace out your shots over there as well, but it can be a little bit awkward firing at Rex from far away. Again, it might seem like I just kind of glossed over Rex, but there really isn't that much to talk about. It's just kind of like Hind. You need to pace out your shots accordingly depending on where you're standing and Rex is standing, when it's standing on its back legs or up front. So Liquid, very complicated fight. Ideally you do an infinite. That requires a lot of practice to get the hang of, unless you're a drummer or something. Let's see if we can do the basic two-throw setup. Boom. I threw a little bit, I did it a little bit faster than I'd like. So that's how the infinite sounds. Again, if you want to learn how to do that, go watch my tutorials on Liquid.
I'll drive.
And now we're at escape. You hold down left. If you think you need a ration, which really you do not, but you can pick this up wait for Otacon to cross the line, grab this guard, wait for Otacon to jump in, turn the key, choke this guard out, tap up constantly to get in the Jeep, hold left while that cutscene's happening, and shoot at the barrels. Aim at this little metal corner thing, and your aim is perfectly set up for this first checkpoint. The guards can shoot you. It's annoying. It's just random whether they do or not. Hit each barrel, boom, boom, and then aim at this door corner right there. As you approach the checkpoint, you can try and get a cute little shot on the middle guard as the Jeep hits the brakes, like that. Pan over to this guard, and then pan back over to the middle guard. Ideally, you get 2 shots on the middle guard as you go back and forth, but that was still a pretty good checkpoint. Again, checkpoints are random. Sometimes the guards can shoot you, and your aim gets knocked off in a random direction by a random amount. It's just something you have to deal with. On easy, Liquid will take 3 shots here, so you want to weave back and forth, wait for him to get out of the iframes, weave back, and then we get the transition shots. Again, you can watch my tutorial to learn more details about this. Try to go for a very precise shot there. It's kind of hard. Unfortunately, you can't do the backup method in the tunnel like you could on the other difficulties, so it's not possible. Back to bob and weave. 2 shots will do it on easy, and now transition shots. Try to get both. It saves a lot of time. And then we're at side by side. There's a certain position we want to aim at here to hit Liquid. It's kind of around his arm. And then just hit him a couple more times and you're good. Like that. 54, very good. The last shot actually doesn't count. You don't need the last shot. Hold X, skip, hold X, press escape. You get to skip the credits on PC, which is really nice. Just keep on mashing escape. Skip the epilogue sequence, and you're about to hit time. When the score pops up, IGT is done counting. So that is Metal Gear Solid All Bosses PC. This is a fun category. It is complex. There's a lot to learn since all the bosses have their own quirks and things to learn about them, and naturally this tutorial was a broad stroke generalized discussion of all that. So if it seems like, well,
you didn't talk in depth about this or that,
that is just the name of the game. If you have more questions, if you're not sure about something, feel free to drop a comment down below in the YouTube. The description will have a bunch of links to various resources that will help you out when learning this game. All Bosses PC is a relatively unexplored category compared to some of the other categories in this game. So I think it would be awesome if you, yes, you, decided to join in on the fun. This category, when, once you get it down, you should be getting around a 105, 106 kind of area. That still leaves a lot of time for improvement. Because ideally this run would probably be around a 101 IGT, but a good goal to start off with when you're just beginning, try to hit 110, and trust me, I know that you can do it. Thank you so much for watching. Already used this guide and want next steps? Try the following. Reduce ammo pickups. Work on your menuing. Watch faster runners and see what they do differently. Experiment with more technical strategies. And of course, practice.
Practice, 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 practice.
Here's a non-exhaustive list of the people that helped me learn, contributed to the route, helped the community with tools, and so on. I really do appreciate everyone in the Metal Gear Solid speedrunning community. Incredible to think about how this game changed in the past 4 years, and I am grateful to all that have made it special beyond simply playing it. It's exciting to consider what may be next. If you want to learn more about Metal Gear Solid or other games in the series, visit MetalGearSpeedrunners.com.